Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Very dangerous statement made by Putin, and it is the first time that I personally hear him say that maybe Ukraine will cease to exist, will lose their statehood. There were some others that claimed that the Russians want to accomplish that, and my point was always, why do you want to get about 40 million people that used to be Ukraine at one point, 40 million people, or let's say 30 million people, subtract the Russian-speaking population, that would hate you? How can you control 30 million people with the influences and the guys already infiltrated in the Ukrainian society? You're gonna have, I don't know, a Belfast and whatever Northern Ireland garbage, killing people and bombardments and so on. And you don't want that, right? And not only that, I gave that because that was the first thing that came in my mind. You're going to have people in your country that don't want to be in your country. And they're sponsored by outside forces. You're going to have a lot of problems. So in what context and what exactly Putin said is right here. And I have two articles, one from Sputnik and the other one is from Russia Today. In Sputnik, we have about three statements made by Vladimir Putin. One, how did they get here and what's going to happen? And he claims the Ukrainians, if things continue the way they are right now in the war, they will lose their statehood. That means they will not be, they will be just another, I don't know, Ukrainistan or something. Not even, I don't want to insult any Kazakhstan or anything like that, Uzbekistan. So let's look at this article coming from Sputnik first. And it says, Ukraine bungled counteroffensive faces loss of statehood if it continues along this path, Putin says. That means he's ready to go all the way till he meets the Poles. The Poles will invade when or if, and I choose when before the if, the Russians break the front and they head towards Kiev and advance. I guarantee you the Poles will be the only one, maybe the Hungarians as well, will militarily enter Ukraine at the request of the legitimate government of Ukraine, and they will come and take back what they claim it's theirs, the western part of Ukraine. And the Hungarians might come and get Zakarpattia or Transcarpathia again to defend their people. The same thing the Russians said they did with their people in Ukraine. So you'll see Poland and Hungary. Poland, I'm 99% certain. Hungary, I'm about 80% certain, or something like that they will invade to protect their people from being attacked by the Russians. The exact thing the Russians were claiming, they invade unprovoked Ukraine to protect their people in Ukraine. They were killed by the Kiev government. They sent tanks. They didn't send tanks to give them flowers. So yeah, because the other guys wanted to what? Did not answer to this guy's coup? Exactly. One of the reasons. So let's see what Putin is saying. So he's going to do that, and those guys will come. And then the West will say, yeah, we have to avoid bloodshed and peacekeeping forces right here. For we are the forces of good, but we're going to do the same thing that the evil guy did. Interesting. Kiev launched a massive counteroffensive. Let's see what Putin says. If that is taking place right now continues, so if what is taking place right now continues, and it is now completely obvious that not only has their counteroffensive failed, but the initiative is in the hands of the Russian armed forces. If this continues, Ukraine's statehood, right here, may face an irreparable and very serious blow, Putin said at a meeting with heads of municipalities in Russia on Tuesday. So Ukraine's statehood may face an irreparable and serious blow. So could, if that continues, irreparable. That means we're not going to give anything back. We're not going to negotiate. Yes, how about we have, we're going to make this and we're going to give this. And no, it's going to be irreparable. That's it, done. We didn't get in just to get wet and then we get out without being fucked. All right? All right. right, let's move on. So this is the first one that he says. The second one, the so-called peace formula that's being talked about, I'm quoting Putin, in the West and in Ukraine is a continuation of the decree of the Ukrainian president banning negotiations with Russia. Putin said, and I'm quoting, as for the negotiating process, it's an attempt to encourage us to abandon the territorial gains we've achieved over the past year and a half. But this is impossible. Everyone understands that this is impossible. So what he's saying is, this guy said about negotiation, but they have it in law that they don't negotiate with him, with Russia. Well, what do you want? You want the Russians just to kill their leaders like in other locations? That's one. The other one, he says, negotiation process. What are you talking about? That means we have to give back our gains. That's impossible. We will not. He clearly, and he says everyone understands that. But they hope that what? They will break eventually the leadership in Russia. Yeah, but it seems like they lost that opportunity. They lost that opportunity. The Russians did not start a revolution because the economy is not going bad. Putin is still in power. They didn't give him a fast cancer or anything like that so he can die in a month. That's what certain agencies do sometimes. They give a cancer fast and then say, oh, he died. My God, it's so fast. It was a very aggressive one. All right. Didn't happen. Militarily, Russia fights with 5%, I think, 5% of its capabilities, at least with troops, with the manpower possibility that they don't fight with 5%. Why? They have the potential of about 30 million people. If they conduct a general mobilization, they would have at least 30 million. 30. And they fight with what? 600,000? Let's say they got involved so far, if we are to believe that about 350,000 were already dead. Then let's say 1 million people out of 33 million people, or 33 or 35, or having a population of 145, about 145 million people, Russia, you're going to get adults between what, 20 or 18 to 55 or 50, you're going to get 30 million, at least. Yeah, but you say, well, they don't have weapons. I mean, my friends, this is not they got prepared. They have the weapons even before. Do you think they don't have AK-47s and they don't have bullets and don't have grenades, they don't have tanks? They've been building. Their economy is still functioning. The military industry is booming over there. They like tripled their production of this and this. Are they liars? I don't know. Could be. The problem is, whatever this guy said so far, it happened. Where's the counteroffensive? Those guys did what? Have that in stone. Oh, we're not going to negotiate. Let's go to the third statement made by Putin. And here it is. A day later, they threw all the agreements into the trash. He's talking about how independent the Ukrainians are, actually. In the trash, and now they are saying publicly, including the head of the Ukrainian negotiating group, that yes, we were ready to negotiate in March 2022, but we missed the chance because then Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Johnson, came and persuaded us not to implement these agreements. Fools, are they not? They're admitting directly that if they had gone for it, everything could have been ended a long time ago, a year and a half ago, Putin said. Now, however we want to turn it, that's the way it is. And now he's telling us, he's going to talk about how did we get to this? How did we get to the, according to Putin, to the Ukrainians being bought and conquered by this interest from the West. And I'm quoting, it was obvious after the collapse of the Soviet Union that we would eventually come to this, he says. Of course, I think that at the time of the collapse, its initiators probably thought that the fundamental ties between Ukraine and Russia would be stronger than the opportunistic considerations of the nationalist-minded parts of society. So he said, when these guys broke the Soviet Union, they broke it, not the Reagan and Bush, and that's this from whole thing. when they broke their country, and they hope that we're going to be closer still together, economically, culturally, and so on. He said, but unfortunately, according to Putin, it seems like the nationalistic parts of the society won the battle and did what they did in order to break them apart and get it out of the, I don't know, Slavic brotherhood, whatever that could be. So this is what he says. They said that's how it all led to today's situation. He said, Putin said, but ultimately these nationalist elements turned out to be more aggressive and began to push through their agenda. That's how it all led to today's situation, according to Vladimir Putin. And now let's go to the other article coming from Russia Today. And it's from the 16th of January 2024. Ukraine's leaders have only themselves to blame. Well, I don't know about that. They can blame themselves as well, but I don't know if only. Kiev bears full responsibility for the situation in which it finds itself, the Russian president said. That's what he said. Ukraine's marched out, the same thing here, and he said. Putin noted that the head of Ukraine's negotiation team, which participated in peace talks with Russia in early months of conflict, had recently admitted that Kiev was at one point ready to reach an agreement with Moscow. However, after a visit of Boris Johnson, the then British Prime Minister, the Ukrainian authorities were convinced to stop pursuing a deal with Russia and continue fighting. And I'm quoting Putin. Are they not idiots? Putin asked, adding that if Ukraine had simply ignored Johnson, then the fighting would have been long over by now. And I'm quoting, this just proves yet again that they, the Ukrainians, are not independent people, the Russian leader said. And this is what he said here. If things carry out this way, Ukrainian statehood could be dealt an irreparable and very serious blow, Putin warned, arguing that the leadership in Kiev is fully responsible for the situation, which is a direct consequence of their policies and decisions. So it's the first time when I hear Putin that you're gonna have a destroyed country, and the more you fight, the more we're gonna get westward. So obviously you don't expect Putin to, for instance, just to pick the other side, to blame anything on his maybe he blamed him. I'm not maybe, because he stated that when someone asked him whatever he regrets, or I think it was just a self-reflection when he said one thing that he regrets or he would do. And that's what it was. It was, what would you do if you were young again, or if you could go back and advise you as a younger Putin? And he said, the only regret I have is that I should have not trusted the West. I should go to my younger self and tell, hey, don't trust the West. Well, that tells you something. Now, it doesn't mean that, well, that's his regret. That means he actually admitted he got fooled by his own trust, naivete. Well, good. Once you recognize that, the next thing you do is change it. So if you recognize you were fooled here because your own weaknesses, like we all have, then the only thing is to work and change that and turn it into something of your strength. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We'll see. I don't think Ukraine, as I said at the beginning of this video, will have a state, or the state will be something around, maybe not even Kiev, because if you remember, I made a video with Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of the Russian Federation and prime minister. He said that actually Kiev and many other cities in Ukraine, and he named them, are Russian. All right. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.